Hey guys, the Lord here, back again with another review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Super7 Ultimates Conan the Barbarian. This is the iconic pose Conan, based off the Motu Classics book from way back in the Matty Collector days. It's not exactly the same. They have made some tweaks as of late, and I think they need to make several more, but we'll get into that. As far as accessories go on this guy, just getting right into it. He comes with this alternate head and necklace. He's rocking a bit of a headband there. I will show what he looks like with these on in a separate clip before we take a look at some comparisons, so we'll do that. He, of course, comes with his sword, his mighty sword. I believe this is the Atlantean sword. He takes from a skeleton. Then he holds it above his head, and that's where the pose comes from. It's a little schmutzy at the end. I wish they would figure out a way not to have it come out like that, but it's whatever. And then last, but certainly not least, comes with a pair of alternate open hands. And the hands on this guy are easy enough to swap out, as are the heads, so they have improved upon that. Getting into the meat and taters. I'm not the biggest Conan fan. I just think he's cool. I seen the movie a long time ago. I believe this is from the first movie, if I'm not mistaken. I took a look at some of the, well, all of the other Conan Ultimates a while ago. And I always said I would like to have a shirtless Conan. This isn't exactly my mind's eye view of Conan from that movie. I believe he just had like kind of the furry shorts and his helmet still, but this isn't bad. If you want a Conan that's shirtless, this is a good one to get. Or the comic one, but it's not old Arnold. But as I said, the heads are easy enough to pop off. And you can see there the ball joint is wiggling a little bit. You don't get a ton of range out of that, but you're really not gonna. He's got the Eye of Chaos around his neck, so he must be an Arch Enemy fan, right? I know he predates Arch Enemy. God, give me a break. Then as far as his hands go, those pop out nice and easy. So, you would think this was a solid figure, right? Well, let me show you what happened to mine. Because this is not mine. This one right here. This one is. The neck is pretty much about to break off. The feet are pretty darn loose on mine. On both sides. The thigh cuts were stuck and gummy when I first opened him. And his hips, they've tightened up a little bit since then. But they were really floppy and loose too. So mine was a piece of junk. My dad's, however, is not. So, while I am very much aware that no two figures are alike, that's inexcusable for the price point. And it's going to cost him a lot of points. Because, if we bring in an example here, this is a $15 figure from Mattel. This is a solid neck joint. Look at that. You can move it all over the place. And the heads are easy enough to swap on. So, that said, what the heck is Super7 doing with this, I guess, seamless ball hinge? I'm guessing it's supposed to be like a Marvel Legends joint, but it just does not work, man. Switch to a double ball peg. You'll get just as much range, if not more, with that. I don't know, when there's like 50 some odd videos from a guy with a lot of recognition, I'm talking about Anthony's Customs here, who talks about how to do articulation right and they still do it wrong. I'm sorry, but I know these companies don't have all the time in the world to watch these videos, but Anthony's Customs is a lot bigger than this channel, and he's shown you how to do it right firsthand. He's making his own action figure line, for crying out loud. So when companies make these stupid mistakes over and over and over again, I'm sorry, but that's just not acceptable. Not at this price point. So get your crap together, man. If Mattel can do the neck joint thing right, then so can you for $50. Just saying. Granted, Mattel needs to work on that torso joint for those Masterverse figures, but that's better than this crap neck that barely does anything. So I'm not going to turn this into a rant, even though I kind of already have. Let's just get back to the review at hand. As far as Conan's articulation goes, his head will rotate around. It'll tilt up and down a little bit. It's not a ton of range, but it's enough to get the alternate head on and not have it warp the peg. His shoulders go out to the side, they go back down, they do rotate. Best shoulder joint in the game, by the way. Nice, clean-looking shoulder. Because when they do it right, they do it really good. Bicep swivel. Really nice bicep swivels on this guy, too. He's got a single joint at the elbow. He does have, like, a rotation here, but because of the way this joint is cut, if they were to round this out, these hard edges here, you would be able to rotate that, but as it stands, you're not going to get any range out of that, so that's kind of pointless. He does have swivel at the wrist as well as a hinge. Inappropriate hinge for the grip hand, but I can let that slide so long as they fix this gosh darn neck joint. Ab crunch, really decent ab crunch on these guys too. Goes back about that far and forward about that far. Mine was a lot harder to move than this, so I appreciate that this was a lot easier. It's got a waist swivel. It's got the T-jointed hips that kick forward and back, in and out. I think these are the best looking hips in the game. These are the types of hips that Mythic Legions use, but they could be tighter or ratcheted or something, so they're not as loose and floppy. They're not bad on this one, but on mine, when I first opened him, they were really loose. He does have thigh cuts, which are gummy out of package, so you might want to leave them in a cool area before you try and crank on those. He does have a single jointed knee, as well as a lower leg swivel, kind of like how McFarlane does that joint. It's like a boot cut, but it's not. And then he also has a hinge in the foot with a rocker, which this one's not too tight, but this one is a lot tighter than mine, so this can at least compensate for the looseness it has. That said, technically still going to review my figure, even though I'm using my dad's for, the technical stuff in this video. So I can't excuse the issues. I'm sorry, but I don't like Conan enough to do that. And if I have a bad experience with a figure, you're going to know how bad the experience was. And if you don't like that, well, tough crap. So that being said, let's get this alternate head and necklace on, shall we? Let's. And as promised, here is old Conan with the alternate head and necklace. I'll give you a quick 360 spin of that, so you get an idea of what he looks like. His long flowing locks there. Pretty cool. With that being said, let's take a look at some comparisons. First up here is the new Ultimate Conan next to a couple of other Conan Ultimate Super 7 put out a few months ago. We have the Pit Fighter Conan and the Thulsa Doom, both of which are really solid figures I didn't have any issues with personally. Let me know if you did in the comments below. But yeah, I kind of like Thulsa Doom the most out of these so far. I don't know. I don't think he's getting dethroned anytime soon. But I will say the shirtless Conan, when it works, I do prefer it to the Pit Fighter one. Up next, here he is next to a couple other Conan figures I have. We've got the Toy Biz Legendary Comic Book Heroes Frank Frazetta style Conan from the Conan and Raoul, the Devourer of Souls 2-pack. And we got the first Conan Super 7 did. This is the Marvel Comics Conan. Still kind of surprised they were able to put this out. That said, this is still my favorite Conan, the comic book one on the right here. I really love the aesthetic on that thing. Yeah, it's not perfect, but I like it a little bit more than the Frazetta one just because the size. I'd love to see Super 7 take a crack at the Frazetta one. You know, when they improve this body and give it the neck joint it deserves. That said, I did have the same issue with my comic book Conan that I did with this Conan, only the first one I didn't almost break the neck joint off trying to fix it. So there's that. And last, but certainly not least, we have our two regulars, the Mythic Legions Brother Mandibulus and the Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. I gotta say, I think Mythic Legions is gonna take the cake as far as my favorite action figure body type goes. I just love the 1.0 bucks on those figures. They're nice and chunky. For the most part, solid, not loose. I don't have a ton of issues with those. And when I do, it's a lot easier to replace parts. So that being said, time to wrap things up. Some final thoughts. Overall, while I am very well aware that no two figures are alike, I'm gonna be honest here, my experience with this figure was absolutely terrible. Between the loose hips, the gummy thigh cuts, the loose ankles, and then the neck joint on mine being so stuck to where when I tried to fix it, it pretty much is almost broken off at this point. I can't recommend this figure for the price point, and it makes me concerned for the other Ultimates coming out in the future, like the Disney stuff, or my heavy metal guys, or anything else that they do that I may be interested in. Because there is no excuse for these problems at this price point. Mythic Legions are $35 and don't have half of these problems. They're not perfect either, but they sure as heck don't have as many issues as this guy had. I don't have problems with die cuts on those. I don't typically have problems with loose ankles on those. I don't have a ton of problems with loose hips on those. And I sure as heck don't have any problems getting the heads to move properly on those. So, Super 7, you need to take notes, because when the $15 Mattel Masters of the Universe figure has a better neck joint than your $50 figure, you're doing something wrong. Switch that to a double ball peg already. It's a useless joint, you don't get a ton of range out of it when it does move, and when it's stuck, there's like a 99.98% chance it's stuck that way for good. That said, if you are a fan of Conan, you probably already have this. I know this came out quite a while ago. But if you haven't bought this yet, I would pass and wait for them to improve this body because it needs some work. It needs a lot of work. So that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review. Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you know whenever I upload more reviews like this one. Gotta show that algorithm who's boss, right? Special shout out to Mr. Brian, aka my dad, for letting me borrow his Conan figure for the bulk of this review. Mine is sitting before you because, well, I already had him in the pose, so why the heck not? But if you haven't already, hit me up on Instagram at Overlord Productions, and don't forget to leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think of this guy. You want it, love it, or hate it. But remember, keep the comments civil, because the world sucks enough as it is. especially when these companies can't get their crap together and improve upon a body mold that was already pretty good. Classics didn't have any of these problems. I'm just saying. Maybe the loose hips and feet thing, but they're 10 years old. It happens. Didn't have a problem moving the heads, though. Oh, that being said, until next time, I'll catch you guys later. But wait, there's more! Yeah, I figured I'd just tack this on to the end of the Conan review to kind of wrap up the QC Chronicles that have been popular on this channel as of late. First and foremost, Eagle Eye viewers of the channel know I reviewed the Noob Saibot figure from McFarlane Toys' Mortal Kombat 11 line a couple of weeks ago, and I had some issues with that. They've all since been resolved. Mr. Brian, aka my dad, again, did glue the hood and knee pad down, and the wrists and feet haven't given me any problems since that review, or the lower knee on the left side. So he is super solid now. Really love that figure. Top 10 of the year potential, maybe? I don't know. I deduct points for QC issues, but we were able to fix them. So we'll see. We'll see. And then as far as Conan goes, I should have said this in the review because I knew about it as I was recording the review, but had a bit of a brain fart. Shout out to BBTS for hooking me up with a free replacement that is a lot better than the one I got the first time. And you guys know me, I like to give credit where it's due, and it is definitely due here because, as always, BBTS 100% delivers when it comes to customer service. So shout out to them for hooking me up with that. The neck joint was frozen on this one too, but Mr. Brian was able to heat that up, get it to move. No problems. It took him a few minutes, but he did get it to move. I did also hear from good old Rudy from Super7 customer service, because I contacted them both about this, because even if BBTS did send me a replacement, I wanted to bring this issue to Super7's attention directly. Not that I have any authority whatsoever when it comes to quality control issues or getting stuff done. I don't. I'm just a schmuck who reviews action figures on the internet. Keep that in mind. But I have a way of doing it that's semi-professional, and I kind of know what I'm talking about when I say that the Ultimate figures would benefit from a shorter neck peg if they are going to continue to use this type of joint, because it'd be easier to get to move if it was stuck in that case, or if they went to the Motu Origins style joint, the dumbbell / double ball peg type joint. That would be even better because you would get a lot more range out of it, along with some tilting action, which I know isn't necessary for some people, but as far as getting joints to move and not having to deal with them being stuck, a double ball peg is a lot easier in that regard. So I just brought it to Rudy's attention. I don't know what kind of authority he's got as far as getting stuff done, but I figured I would bring it up because I do the same thing with Hasbro. I mentioned it with the infamous Carnage ankle rockers, the Carnage that came out last year. The ankle rockers were just, the detents were too tight on that figure, and I broke them on the first one I got. The second one, I managed to get them to work a lot easier. I was able to get the click out of that joint. I took a lot of that friction out with some heat and some soap and some whatever. And I had to do the same thing on the Death Dealer figure. I just brought it to their attention that, hey, this isn't exactly necessary for this joint. We don't need this that tight. It's the hinge forward and back that should be tight, not so much the rocker. It doesn't need to be tighter than a monkey's uncle, if you know what I'm saying. So, while I did address these issues to both McFarlane and Super7, and I guess Hasbro, if we're going to just throw them in there too, keep in mind, again, I got no authority on these things. I just like to mention it to the companies so that maybe at some point in the future they take a look at things again and maybe they'll change them for the better, you know? Because that's really what it's all about. For the price point of some of these things, it would be nice to not have to deal with these problems. I know that not everything is perfect and not every figure is alike, but for certain price points, I feel like certain issues should not be relevant. So, that's just my opinion. You can have a different opinion. That's totally okay. As long as you keep the comments civil, as the saying goes. But yeah, with that being said, signing off, and I'll catch you guys later.